Welcome to the NIEHS webinar training program. Today's presentation will be on grantsmanship, how to write a specific aims page for an NIH type application. And I'm Jerry Heindel. So the question is, what are my qualifications for talking to you about writing grants? So I have two basic qualifications. The first one, I was an academic researcher for part of my career when I was assistant and associate professor. During that time, I wrote and received multiple R01 type grants. But more importantly, perhaps, I've been 25 years at the National Institute of Environmental Health Sciences in the Division of Extramural Research and Training. And during that time, I reviewed many application ideas. I attended the reviews and watched how reviews go, what the reviewers are looking for. I critiqued many summary statements, and I provided guidance on how to respond to summary statements and provided guidance on specific aims pages for many applicants over the years. Indeed, I've given over 50 presentations on how to write an NIH application. So based on that, I'm going to give you my thoughts on how to write a specific aims page for an NIH application. Let me start out by reminding you, why are you writing an application? Who are you writing it for? You're really writing it to get funded, of course, but in order to get funded, you have to pass through the reviewers. And so you are really writing this application for the reviewers. So you have to keep in mind who the reviewers are and their state. So they're going to be reviewing many applications. They're going to be very busy people. So they're going to be critical, skeptical, and actually really easily annoyed. So the best thing you can do is make it simple and easy to understand and follow. They're going to be experts in a field, but they may not be experts in your specific field. So you need to be sure that you write it so that other people can understand. It's important to look up the reviewers on your review panel, see who they are, look up their publications. If these people are writing in your specific area, be sure that you pay attention to their publications when you're writing. So the key thing then is to make the reviewers happy. Make your application simple, clear, and simple to understand. Tell a story. Make it flow logically. Don't make the writing too full of facts and figures, but try to make it more interesting and engaging and persuasive by telling a logical, flowing story. Remember, reviewers are people too, and many times their feelings about the application are more important than the logic and the reasoning and the facts. A couple more important ideas. Focus on what makes your application special. Everybody has good ideas, but maybe yours are special and you need to be sure that people understand that. And focus on what the field needs. What are the common obstacles or gaps in this particular field? Something that's holding the field back. Something that if you solved would lead to a major impact on that field and change how it moves forward. What you want to do then is to focus your research around this solution to these gaps and obstacles or problems in the field. So it's not what you would like to do or what you're best qualified to do, but what the field needs that has to be the focus of your application. And then also remember that this review panel will have 20-some people on it. Not everyone will be experts in your field. Some will come from different backgrounds, and maybe they're toxicologists, they're endocrinologists, statisticians, physiologists. be sure that there's something in there for everyone. Okay, now let's go to the specific aims page. This is the key page, the most important page. This is the page the reviewers are going to look at first. And if they like this page, they understand it, they're happy with it, then the rest of the application will be very easy for them to give you a good score on. So start by writing your specific aims page, then read it, write it again, take a break, write it again, send it to somebody else to take a look at, perhaps send it to a program official once you think it's in that pretty good shape, get their opinion on it, and then read it, revise it again, over and over until you're satisfied that's the best specific aims page you could develop. Remember, this takes time. This is the key page. Once you get this page down, then it flows quite easily to write the rest of the application. So take your time on this page. So here's my thoughts on how to write a specific aims page. I'm going to set it up into 4 paragraphs. These aren't real paragraphs that you're going to write, but it helps you put the topics into 4 paragraphs for your thinking. So the first paragraph is the what you're doing and why you're doing it. And it starts out with a 1 or 2 sentence of the big picture. What's important about some field that you want to study, or some health problem, something that everybody agrees this is important. That helps develop common ground. Then talk about the significance that this is an important problem and an important area. So everybody's on board. Okay, we understand that. Then talk about the state of the science. Talk about where is the science today. We know this, and we know this, and we know this, and we know this, in a logical, flowing manner. Then, with regard to this field, what is your long-term research goal? Then talk about the preliminary data that you have developed so far. And then will lead then to what's left. What is holding the field back? What is this critical need that needs to be filled to move the field forward? And then that's the focus of your application. So all of this is to set the stage, get the reviewer on your side, following the flow and the logic and your persuasive writing. Then the second paragraph, you start out by saying, well, the object of this application then is and it's to address this major problem that the field has that you're going to try to solve to move the field forward. That follows then by your specific, focused, mechanistic hypothesis based on the literature and your preliminary data and your solution or approach to what's holding the field back. So hopefully you can see the logical flow that we're developing here. The third paragraph then will be the specific aims. Something specifically focused to prove the hypothesis in logical order with no dead ends, and be sure that they're achievable endpoints. Then the last paragraph pulls it all together, and it talks about the impact of what you're doing on the field. What's novel or innovative about what you're doing, and what will be the impact on the field. So let's talk about the hypothesis for a second. So when I'm reviewing a specific aims page, what I do is I start by covering up the hypothesis and the aims. And I read through the first part. And then I ask myself, based on what I just read, what should the hypothesis be? And hopefully the reviewer will come to the same hypothesis that you came up with. And if they do, then you know you're in great shape. Be sure that the hypothesis is novel, new, innovative, and very highly focused. The same thing goes for the aims. What I usually do is cover the aims. Then I look at the hypothesis and I say, based on this hypothesis, what should the aims be to prove this hypothesis? And the reviewer then should come to the same conclusion as you, that these are indeed the aims. If they don't, then you're going to have a problem. There's one other kind of way to look at this that kind of helps you in the development of this specific aims page. And it comes from Randy Olson, who wrote a book on this subject called Don't Be Such a Scientist. And it's called the and, but, and therefore. And you can see this helps you develop your flow. You start out with a statement. Obesity is a very debilitating disease, and it leads to something, and it does something else, and there are drugs to control it. But there's a problem. There's a lack of assays to predict who will become obese. This is a problem then that needs to be solved. Therefore, I propose a solution to this problem. I propose a sensitive assay to predict who will become obese. Do you see the logic and the flow there? You start with something everybody can agree on, and. That's the preliminary data, the state of the science. Then you can introduce the problem. And then you introduce your solution to the problem, your hypothesis. And it goes like this. The key important problem, and the literature says, and the literature says, and the literature says. And I have my preliminary data that adds to the literature, but still there's a problem. Therefore, I propose something that will fix that problem. I propose a hypothesis to address that problem, and thereby will have an impact on the field. So here's what a specific aims page then actually looks like. And I just cut out a few things so that it doesn't impact this particular person and the work that they're doing. But you can see the introduction, then there's a long-term goal, background information, the objective of this application, the hypothesis underlined, bolded, the aims bolded, and the bottom paragraph, an impact. And the one thing that's very nice here is that under the aims, there's a little short paragraph that talks about how the aims are going to be developed and what is actually the deliverable that will result from these aims. If you can do that, that's also then very helpful. So here's another one. And you can see it starts out with an important problem, state of the science, the long-term goal, objective of this particular application, preliminary data, hypothesis, aims, and impact. And what this particular specific aims page has that's so nice is a cartoon of the aims. If you can do this, this will be very helpful. So you have a cartoon of what aim 1 is, aim 2, aim 3, how they're connected to each other, and how they all link to proving something very important and helping to move the field. So just one more time in summary. Catch the people's attention, the reviewer's attention with some disease focus, some very important problem. Then your overall goal, educate the reviewer of the current status of the literature in a nice flow. What the problem is that needs to be solved, or the data that's needed, your hypothesis to solve the problem. Who's going to do it? If you want to add that, something about the expertise of your team, the specific aims, and then the impact. So there you have it. How to write a specific aims page, and I've gone through it several different times, several different ways, so you can go back and take a look at which one fits you best. So I wish you very best of luck. And if you have any questions on this presentation or anything else related to an NIH grant, I'm happy to talk to you. My email is here.